Hello, I'm Gordon Edwards from Canada. I'm the president of the Canadian Coalition for Nuclear Responsibility, and I'm here with Wolfgang.
Yeah, hello, my name is Wolfgang Pomrehn. I'm a freelance journalist from Germany and came here to Hong Kong to talk about nuclear energy.
So Wolfgang, I'm very interested in hearing more about what's happening in Germany, because people are wondering, with this phase out of nuclear power, whether this is going to mean like a lot more import of nuclear electricity from France maybe, or perhaps burning more of that very dirty soft coal and therefore adding to the greenhouse problem. Is this a problem in Germany? How is the government and the people of Germany going to deal with that?
Well, let me first talk about the export and import of electrical energy. Actually, Germany has been for more than 10 years now an exporter, a netto exporter, that is, that we are exporting more electrical energy than we get. But you should know that there is a lot of transaction or transfer of electrical energy between countries in Europe all the time. So the interesting question is the balance sheet. And on the balance sheet, Germany is still exporting electrical energy, also last year. But you know that we shut down 8 out of 17 nuclear reactors last year in March after the Fukushima accident.
Well, how is this possible? If you have 17 reactors and you shut down half of them, 8 reactors at one shot, how can you possibly still have a surplus of electricity? It sounds contradictory.
Renewable, that's it, renewable. We are developing wind industry, solar industry. We really had a boom in solar energy in the last 2 years. We have now something like 25 gigawatt of capacity in solar power. We could add, if the government wouldn't stop it, but we could add another 7 this year in solar power only. Wind energy is also something like 30 gigawatt now in capacity. And we end up that we have now about 20% of our electricity consumption is coming from the renewables.
Wow, that's not capacity, that's actual electricity used. Is 20%, 20% renewable?
Yeah,
that's
sure.
Pretty impressive.
The capacity is even bigger, but the problem is that not all the time wind and not all the time sun.
I understand that at the time of the Fukushima accident in Japan, I heard that that Germany already had more solar photovoltaic installed than all of the 6 reactors at Fukushima Daiichi in terms of capacity. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, you should be a little bit careful in comparing capacity, because solar in Germany is just good for 900 hours a year of producing electricity. So you need more solar capacity to outweigh the capacity of a nuclear plant or a coal plant. But it's true. I mean, it's true. We have, especially during the noontime, we have so much solar energy now, usually in Germany. And Germany is quite far up in the north. I mean, even farther, or like Canada, we're really far up in the north. States like the United States or China, they have much better condition for solar energy.
I see.
You see. But let me tell you something about the other issue about climate change. You ask about the soft coal.
Yes.
It's true, and coal is a big problem in Germany. Germany is one of the biggest soft coal or lignite producers in the world, and about 22–25% of our electricity is coming from burning lignite, which is very bad, because it's the worst fossil fuel in terms of CO2 production. But it's not really true that now more soft coal is burned. It was a little bit last year, but it had been more about 10 or 15 years ago. Renewable.
So it's going down. The use of coal is going down.
The use of coal is going down, but it's, of course, coal is a big business in Germany, so it's a fight. I mean, we are fighting new coal plants as well as we are fighting nuclear power plants. So.
Okay. Now, of course, the sun only shines in the daytime, and so you really can't depend upon your electricity supply on solar energy. So this is a little bit of a pipe dream, isn't it?
No, not really. I mean, what you need is a different kind of grid system, and you need storage. You can't, well, yeah, as you said, the solar is not shining 24 hours a day. So this needs to be built. And also we have some pumped storage already, but this is used now for the nuclear industry and for the coal industry, so that they can, they are able to run their power plants, the nuclear reactors, 24 hours a day. In the night, they're using the electricity from the nuclear power plant to pump up the water storage, so that they can release the energy during the day. But if we could use this storage for renewable, then that would be a step further.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And what about the wind picture? I suppose that the wind in some way makes up for the fact that the sun only shines during the day. The wind at least blows more often, not only in the daytime. And what about other renewables? Do you have, how is the renewable mix stacking up in Germany? How do they work together, these renewables?
Well, we have, as you said, wind and solar. We have also hydropower, but which is about something like 3% of our electricity production. And then we have quite some biomass burning, actually. Mainly it's biogas. It's diverted all over the country, in the countryside, in smaller and bigger plants. And biogas would be a good idea for a backup for wind and solar, but that needs to be planned, which is not done. I mean, one of our many problems is this ideology of free market. People think everything has to be liberalized and organized by the market, but electricity production is a very sensible thing, which just has to be planned. So it doesn't make much sense to leave it to the free market. It would be better to have a non-profit company which would at least organize the private companies in a way to save for the needs of all of us. Huh?
Mm-hmm. So this 20%, do you think that that you've kind of hit the peak here with 20% electricity coming from the renewable sources? I mean, once you've installed so much wind, you can't just keep on going forever, can you?
Oh, nearly forever. No, we are not at all at the peak. Just to give you an example, Denmark has 20% of its electricity consumption from wind only.
From wind only?
From wind only. I was
Wow.
talking about wind, solar, biogas in Germany, but Denmark doesn't. And they reached that point already 10 or 15 years ago, and then they got a liberal conservative government which stopped the further development. So they could have been much better by now already.
I noticed that when the Siemens company announced that they were getting out of the nuclear field, which was a big shock to me, because Siemens has always been a big player in the whole world in nuclear field. But the CEO of Siemens announced not only that they were getting out of nuclear, but that they were fully in agreement that the German government could meet its goal of becoming renewable by 2020, sufficiently to more than compensate for the shutdown of all the nuclear reactors. And he said that he believed that the development of renewable energy is really the engineering challenge of the 21st century. I thought that was an interesting remark coming from one of the giants of the past of the nuclear industry to say that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's owning he's leading a private company which wants to make profit.
Sure.
Now, obviously, you can't make so much profit with nuclear power anymore. And Siemens now is going much into wind, actually, though they are producing wind plants and selling them mainly abroad. Siemens has the problem, it's a huge corporation. So it's not they're not able to deal with people buying 1 or 2 or 3 wind plants. But actually, this is the interesting thing in Germany, that the wind industry is very diverse in ownership. It's no centralization. You have a lot of, I'd say, just citizens or citizen corporations owning several wind plants. So, and this is also a very nice and interesting thing, because in that way, a lot of money is kept in the places, especially in the community, in the countryside. This is a very good thing, you know. And in the industrialized country, like I guess in Canada, it's much the same. We have the problem that the countryside gets somehow developed way behind the centers, and this is a way of developing the more, how to say, more even the country as well. Yeah. But so you were asking something about the aims, how far we can get. Well, the official aims is to have 30% of renewable, or 35% in 2020. For sure, we can. The renewable will be able to, how to say, to replace the nuclear energy, which is fading out now. But the official aim is to become 100% renewable by 2050.
Oh, I see.
But if we go on in the same speed as we are now doing now, then we could reach this by 2030 actually. But that is a lot of debate with coal industry.
Well, it's interesting to me because in the nuclear field, you mentioned that it's hard to make a profit nowadays in the nuclear field. That's a very interesting comment, and it certainly seems to be true in North America, because they're having to really invest tens of billions of government money in guaranteeing the loans that people need to get the capital to build these nuclear plants. The private markets will not touch it. They won't invest in it. So obviously they see it as a non-money making operation. That's a very interesting point. One thing that I think people tend to overlook also is that not only does it cost a tremendous amount of money to build the infrastructure for the nuclear at the beginning, but also when the plant is finished and you've already used up all the electricity, then you have a huge cost in taking it apart again, and also in managing the thousands and thousands of truckloads of radioactive rubble that you have from the dismantling, as well as the long-term waste disposal. So one thing that I think people in North America are realizing is that you're buying a lot of real problems for the future, which are going to cost a lot of money. So that after you finish with this reactor, you still have to spend more money on it instead of investing in meeting people's needs.
Well, so much about cheap nuclear energy. In Germany, we are calculating that we will have to pay another 100 billion euro. It is something like 1 trillion Hong Kong dollars, I think, for dismantling the old plants and handling the waste.
And out of that you get no benefit?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.